So this guy in Florida named Jeremy Dewitte decides that he would rather go back to prison for up to 80 years than to delete his YouTube account and not have YouTube anymore. Who is this guy? Jeremy Dewitte. He's also known as Florida Man or Fake Cop J. He was first arrested for impersonating the police and stealing gas back in 1998. And it went to a long history of problems from there. He's even a registered sex offender. But it all culminated in 2019 when he was under investigation for violation of some RICO statutes. And because of some political cover-ups, Jeremy Dewitte ended up getting arrested but sentenced to one of the most lenient sentences in world history for impersonating police, failing to register as a sexual offender, and they had hundreds of crimes on this guy. So he served his sentence for 18 months minus time served. He was out in about a year's time, and he just recently got out in 2022. And they told him you have one obligation that you need to abide by in your probation terms, and that's to delete your YouTube channel that was running your old business. And he said, I will not do it. I'm keeping my YouTube account. And so they pulled up to Jeremy Dewitte's house with the SWAT team, multiple units, and they arrested Jeremy Dewitte because he refused to delete his YouTube account. I think that's a grand testament to what YouTube has built. This guy's risking up to 80 years in prison from the crimes that he caught committing and that he pled guilty to, or at least no contest. But now he's trying to go on TV and tell the news and get people to believe and try to tell people that he's actually a victim of crime.
$1,000 that was in my account on my YouTube channel was taken, and YouTube refused to take down the channel.
So he claims nothing is his fault. And that's how it always goes with this Florida man, Jeremy Dewitte, Fake Cop J.
Your attention? No. That's the field we known as the notorious fake cop.
Fake cop, huh?
That's right, Jeremy. Fake cop. And he went on the Dr. Phil show in 2021 and proclaimed himself innocent, even though he failed the polygraph. And he told Dr. Phil that he does everything possible to make his motorcycles differentiated from police motorcycles. This is his motorcycle right here.
Black and white is a very rare, almost not found at all law enforcement style motorcycle. Yeah. So we went with the black and motorcycles to make sure that we were very different than local law enforcement.
And he wasn't fooling anybody, including Dr. Phil.
Is the clumsiest effort to deflect I've ever seen in my life.
It's the clumsiest effort to deflect that any of us had ever seen in our lives. This is how he would dress, and he would direct traffic. And then he hired a whole crew of people to help him direct traffic, and he told them that they were doing everything legally. And he lied about his credentials, and he ran one of the biggest police impersonation rings that the world has ever seen. And that's why he was being investigated under RICO charges in Florida. But then once they found out that Jeremy Dewitte's ties tied in with the mayor's office and the sheriff's office and local businesses, the political faction in Central Florida tightened their grip around who they had control of in Florida. Local Sheriff John Minna was the first that was forced to do a deal for Dewitte. Here's John Minna standing proudly next to Jeremy Dewitte. But that's not all. Other politicians were in on the fray too. Here's a picture of Jeremy and Andrew Gillum. And the way it works in politics, when they find your weakness, they know exactly how to press, and press they will. And favors are done, called quid pro quos, and what ended up happening is a corruption of the legal and justice system. Officers of the Sheriff's Department who were tasked to protect the streets, such as Sergeant Keith Vidler you see here on the screen, arrested Jeremy Dewitte for police impersonation and carrying a fake gun and intimidating drivers. As a result of that arrest, John Minna personally had Keith Vidler fired in furtherance of his cover-up of the quid pro quo. And this is just a brief summary of what's the story with Jeremy Dewitte. It goes into deep detail on the Police Tube YouTube channel. And even though they gave Jeremy Dewitte a break and let him serve only a fraction of the time that he should have served, he refused to shut down his YouTube channel, which he agreed if he didn't shut it down, he would go back to prison. But he said, I'm not shutting it down. I'm going back to prison. What's so great about his YouTube channel, you might ask? Well, some people say Jeremy Dewitte is a heavy, heavy narcissist, and his YouTube channel documents his story. And with all the views that he got, he thinks he is a very popular public figure, and it pained him so much to delete it that he'd rather go back to prison. Most people don't know, or maybe you do, Jeremy Dewitte kept a folder on his computer at home entitled Jay's Cool Things, and it was a bunch of videos from his dash cameras of him committing crimes, assaulting innocent men and women around the Central Florida area. Illegal and egregious acts of hostility.
Dumb fuck, get the fuck over before you find out.
And assaulting innocent people just on a daily stroll. Listen to this.
My funeral now! Get out of my funeral now!
We didn't know which way to go.
Get out of the way now! Move your bike to the side now! And stay there till we're clear, or I'm gonna take you down myself. Stop your.
And this is how he talked to a lot of people. If anybody knows these victims, please call the Police Tube hotline. The phone number is on the screen right now. Call 24 hours a day if you have any information as to who those two innocent victims are. And it just doesn't end there. Jeremy Dewitte does this to other people. Jeremy Dewitte is purposely going to run his bike into this guy right here. And then Jeremy drives away.
Oh, I hit my foot on your car because you wouldn't stop.
Jeremy Dewitte pulls up to this guy and assaults him and picks a fight with him and almost batters him while he has his hand on his gun.
You're lucky I don't get out and beat. Come on, let's go, bitch. Get out your fucking car. Let's go. Let's go. Come on.
This one is one of the worst, where Jeremy Dewitte pulls up to this man and totally abatters him.
Get out of the way. Move. Get your fucking car out of the way.
Watch him put his hand on his gun. See that? This is aggravated assault that Jeremy Dewitte is doing on innocent people. And these are just a couple of the clips. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of these videos. And those are only the videos that Jeremy Dewitte has saved in a folder called Jeremy's Cool Stuff. Because Jeremy Dewitte, Florida man, fake cop Jay, got off on an excited kick, exerting power over people like this. He leaves his wife and daughter at home, along with a very public girlfriend who has been fighting hard to put him in jail while claiming that she loves him. Jeremy Dewitte, Florida man, fake cop Jay, chose his own vanity over freedom, and he chose to go back to prison on November 29th, 2022, rather than simply just close down his YouTube account. That's a testament right there for the power of YouTube. And let me not end this video without mentioning the two Orange County Sheriff Corporal John Ramsey and Sergeant Keith Vidler, both having multiple decade careers at Orange County Sheriff's Office. They got disciplined severely, and Keith Vidler got fired, completely terminated for doing nothing wrong other than arresting Jeremy Dewitte and uncovering a crime that led to political corruption in Orange County, Florida, and it implicated his boss. And when he found out about it, he said he might blow the whistle depending on what happens. And they specifically told him, if you blow the whistle on this, they said, if you even think about blowing the whistle on this, you will be terminated. And they followed through on their promise once Keith Vidler and Corporal John Ramsey helped expose, at minimum, a vein of non-compliance with law enforcement, where law enforcement was demonstrating that they are not out protecting the public interest. They're looking out for their own interest, is what it turned out to be. And these two fine officers with gleaming records are the ones paying the price. Here's a blurry picture of Sergeant Keith Vidler. He's the one that got the brunt of the political corruption by being fired. He was honored as a national hero from the Pulse nightclub shooting in Florida. He was one of the first officers to get there and put his life over the life he put his life on the line for the people in the club. Although there were cover-ups there too that are still yet to be told. I heard that Keith Vidler actually ran in there. No matter your political affiliation, you know that political corruption should not be tolerated. Not by our politicians, but especially not by our law enforcement agents. And Sergeant Keith Vidler and Corporal John Ramsey stood up for the law and for the people of Orange County, Florida, and they paid the price. And Jeremy Dewitte, fake cop J, police impersonator, registered sex offender who failed to register, got off easy but still made excuses and claimed that he's the victim of crime. We'll keep you updated on what happens to Jeremy and what happens to Sergeant Keith Vidler and Corporal John Ramsey, because they're both fighting to get their jobs and their livelihoods back that they've been working on for dozens of years at the Orange County Sheriff's Department. So stay tuned, check out PoliceTube. I appreciate you watching. Florida man refuses to shut down his YouTube channel and goes back to prison for it. Is it worth it, Jeremy? Stay tuned to YouTube and find out. Have a great day.